Hello! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gen Con Online 2020. This is Kosmos Games. I'm Tom, and with me here we have Jesus.
Hey, everybody.
Before we get started, I would like someone to confirm that they can hear us. Just in the comments, just give us a thumbs up, or we gotcha. Wait a second, because there's a little bit of a delay. But very excited to be presenting Targi the Expansion to you today. You can see the box over here. We'll get into that. Get started, I would like someone to confirm. All right, loud and clear. Thank you very much. Okay, so Targi the Expansion. We're going to talk about that today. And in this video, I'm just going to give you a quick outline. We're going to start off with kind of a segment on what we like about the game, what we think is cool, who we think this game is for. It's a two-player game. We're also going to go through a little bit of the rules and gameplay. Jesus here is going to walk us through maybe some differences between this and the original game. Yeah, so we don't have a teaser video for this one like we did for the other games. This one is actually coming out in 2 weeks. It's like on the boat, on its way to us right now. So this is brand new, very fresh game for us in English at least, because it's been out in German before. But all right, so I'm going to turn the time over to you, Jesus. Introduce yourself and then get right into the game.
All right. So my name is Jesus Sanchez. I've been at Gen Con many times, so you've all probably bothered me with is the expansion coming out? It is coming out. It is on its way over here. So the little teaser video that we'll do is, it's Targi the Expansion coming out very soon, but it's the boat's dock and unload it. So Targi the Expansion is more wonderful gooey goodness. It reminds me in the same vein of when the Emotep expansion came out. It's more of the same wonderful stuff. It's like, it's that down home cooking, if you will. Like, it's like that comfort zone. We didn't reinvent the wheel. So I'm assuming most people know how to play Targi. So I'm going to explain a little bit of how to play it, but if you already know Targi, this is like set up for you to jump in. If you don't know Targi, you can buy the expansion and the game, and you can literally just mix them together, and it's that easy to pick up and go. There's so much replayability in just the base game, though. You might want to start with that. But the expansion adds so many cool little quirks. It adds a few little things that are cool, and I know I'm getting all excited about it, but essentially, Targi, the base game of what you're doing is it's a worker placement game, meaning that you're going to put your little workers out. Oh, thank you, Tom. I'm so used to grabbing stuff and showing it. So you're going to put your little workers out, and then you're going to get to take actions to wherever you place those around on the board. But what makes Targi really... So for those that don't know, the middle cards are usually face up, and they have other stuff. Why that's cool, these middle cards, these goods and tribe cards, is because there's a very unique mechanic in Targi to where your two workers cross. You have these other little round tokens that Tom will put out here at the intersections of where your two pieces meet. So you'll see that they meet there and they meet there, which allows you to take essentially 5 actions on your turn in any way that you want. And they do everything from getting you different goods to getting these tribe cards that set up. And the object of the game is to get the most points. And the game's going to end when someone has completed their 12 tribe cards out in front of them in a 4x3 grid. With the exception of the expansion is going to add that the game can end if the little robber figure ever gets all the way around to the last raid, because there's going to be raids on the corner. And what raids are going to do, folks, is they're going they're gonna not be good. They're just gonna take stuff from you. They're gonna just come and plunder your little tribe that you are starting. So that's the object of the game, is to put your workers out and try to cross-section them so you can get the things that you need to buy other cards. When you're placing your figures out, though, you're never allowed to place one of your figures on the same place as the robber, which is the little gray Targi figure, or on a space with one of your own Targis or an opponent's Targi. The other thing is you can't ever place one of yours across from another one of your opponents. Like, you can put it across from yours, but you wouldn't really want to do that, because then they're going to intersect at the same spot, and you're going to like kind of make yourself not be able to do extra actions. So that's a quick overview of how the mechanics work in it. Targi the Expansion, what that adds is it actually replaces some of the outside cards that you can move around. It adds some different actions around the outside that I don't want to say different, I want to say upgraded actions that allow you to do a few other things. It also adds a new little thing called, that's a Targia, which is really cool. The Targia works like the opposite of the robber. She actually is going to move around counterclockwise, so the opposite way of the robber. And when you put one of your pieces with her, because you can actually put your piece with it, she allows you to take one good of any type that you want, or you can discard one of your goods to flip over the top goods card and take that. And you can do that repeatedly. So if you have a whole bunch of goods that you just don't need and you're looking for that one, you can start discarding those and flipping them over. You'll notice that there's also some other, I'm going to call them goods, but they're not really goods. It's another thing. There's some water tokens. And water, those are really cool because you can actually trade water in. You can trade 3 water in for 1 gold, or you can trade 2 water in for 1 good. And at the end of the game, you get points for every 2 waters that you have. So you can even save those. And then they work the same as gold, where they're not considered a general good. So Tom and I were talking before this started, like, what is a reason, why would I ever want to discard goods to flip over a good card? Because when you're with the Targia, you can take 1 of any good, but because gold and water are not considered goods, if you need that, like the last round, you can't just take a gold. But in that goods deck, there might be a water, there might be a gold. So you might discard it in hopes to get what you want. Or maybe, like Tom said, you might need 2 of something, and there's cards in there that allow you to do that. It's a really cool mechanic to add, where it gives you a bit more flexibility. And that's kind of what the water does, is it gives you a little more flexibility, because if you have 2 water, you know that you can get a date, you know that you can get some salt, or you can get some pepper at any time if you really need it, which is a really cool thing to do. The other this is like my favorite part that it adds, is there are sand dune cards. So you'll notice, and I like to think of this in a thematic sense, if you notice, the whole board is set up where there's water, and then there's like rocks on one side, and then there's a small little bit of trees. There's actually these sand dune cards, which anyone that knows Targi and you see these cards, you're like, whoa, those are legit. Those are super powerful. Yes, they are. At the beginning of the game, you're going to actually set those off of the board and have 3 of them set up on the side. And when you're placing your Targi figure, you can actually place them on one of the sand dune cards. Now, the only thing is that sand dune card does not cause you to intersect at any way. So when you put one of yours on there, imagine they left your little awesome village and they're off on their own and they have no connection to that. So you're actually decreasing the amount of actions you can take by 1. But the game, in a very beautiful way, balances this by making sure that those sand dune cards are extra powerful. So if you go to the sand dune, you're going to be down one action, and that's okay, because the action on the sand dune, because you're risking your life out in the sand dunes, it's going to be more powerful. It still follows the rule where you can't place your Targi on another player's or your own. You can't like repeat that same card over and over. There are, however, I will tell you, there are cards in the deck that allow you to do that now, where you can actually go out there and do that, which is cool. The other thing is after you take your action and remove your Targi from the sand dune, that card gets discarded and it doesn't get replenished. So there's only 3 actions out there, and the only way that those cards are ever going to get replenished is if at the beginning of a round there are no sand dune cards currently out, or if the robber ends up on a raid, then they will get discarded and refilled. So it's a limited supply. You have to choose when you go out there, because there might be something out there that's awesome, but it's not going to refill if someone else takes it. So your options are going to go down, which is really cool. There's also, for the gamer in us, this adds a little more strategy to it, but it's not like, I hate when games come out with an expansion that makes me relearn the whole game. Like, this doesn't. This adds more strategic value to what you already know, which is awesome. There's a couple little symbols on the cards that most gamers will gather right away. Now, you'll notice that Tom put that robber on that corner raider, which is a good example of one of the symbols, which is kind of like the and or sign, the slash. And that's just saying that when they raid, you can either choose to lose 1 pepper or lose one point, which both is not good at all. There's also there's other cards that allow you to choose between different things you want to pay. The one thing that I really think that's new and is refreshing is right underneath the blue, right in the middle, go up 2. 1, 2, right there, that card. This card is awesome. Not because it's like this spectacular card, but this has one of the great new mechanics. You'll notice that at the top, this is a card that you can buy to place into your little 3x4 village. And this card costs you 1 gold. If you place 1 gold, you'll get the reward at the bottom, which is 2 victory points. However, you can choose to also pay 3 pepper that's in that parentheses, and then at the end of the game, you will also get 2 extra points. So you could, if you only have 1 gold and you're like, wow, that's a cool card, you could get that. But if you're like, wow, if I pay a little extra, I get a little extra. There's lots of that happening in the game, which is really, really, really cool. And I really like it because it's like, it's such an easy way to just jump in and get, going. Like, there's a couple other symbols that are very easy to pick up. There's like an immediate symbol, which is a little lightning bolt that right when you place it, it's going to take effect right away. And to keep in mind, you don't ever have to take any of these actions. So I think that might actually be the one that says for every raid that's already occurred, you receive 1 water or 1 victory point.
Yeah.
Awesome. See? If I wanted that in my village, I don't have to do that right away. It just kind of happens, and if it doesn't do anything, cool, but it's still part of my village. There's some that have an infinity sign, and it's a continuous effect, and they make sense. I mean, you don't even need the symbols on there. They're nice to have on there, but it makes sense. It tells you what it's doing. The one thing, too, is there's that those little triangles. I'm going to hold this up, Tom, while you are holding that up. There's these little awesome cardboard triangles that came with the game that you place on it, and it's like a really powerful effect that you can use once per game on your turn, anytime after you have it in there. And it's just like those little pieces. It's just a reminder that, like, I can pull the trigger on this at any time I want to. And then there's cards that have an exclamation point that will score at the end of the game. There's one right there, Tom, under the Morgina, I think. Yeah, there you go. So that one has an exclamation point that it's another way to gain points towards the end of the game. The end of the game scoring doesn't change where it's like some weird new way to score where you have to take off your shoes and count your toes and your fingers. Like it's like I said, it's very familiar, which is something that I really, really appreciate about the expansion. Tom, is there anything that I blatantly just missed and like completely screwed up?
No, I mean, I would like to call you out on some things, but no, you did a great job, and I completely agree with you. I love that this expansion, it doesn't reinvent the wheel. It gives you more options and more things to do, but the gameplay, the core mechanics are going to stay the same. You're using your tribe members to gather resources on the border, and then the cross section of them, you'll get either more resources or those tribe cards, which is really the way you win the game. But it's all boy, I've been watching a lot of reviews for this because it came out in English in the UK just a little while ago. So some of the reviewers over in the UK have had a chance to play it. And we sent out a couple of very early copies to some reviewers here. So we're getting feedback, and I'm always very excited to see what people think. And this is just getting phenomenal reviews. One of them is, we were talking about Z Garcia's before the show. Shut Up and Sit Down did one as well. And I really liked their perspective on this. They kind of put it in line with a game like chess because it's a two-player game. But this has so much more going on. And one of the things that they mentioned, and Z did too, is that the base game is great. You know?
Yeah.
If you have the base game, you've got countless hours of gameplay because there's so much variety, and especially if you play with the same person. If this is like your date night game, you can play for hours, and both of you will kind of progress and learn together and get better and better. So the base game is great. There was no like need for an expansion, but because there are so many really just diehard fans of this game, there was a lot of requests. This is obviously, and you mentioned this too, like the most requested game expansion we've ever had. We get requests all the time on BGG. There's posts like every other month where someone posts the Thames and Cosmos email saying, email these guys and tell them to get the expansion out, and then we'll get flooded with hundreds of emails.
I remember being at it was either Origins or Gen Con that we were at when this first came out, when we first got Targi, and we like printed it. Like it was like people would come up and they'd be like, Targi, great 2-player games, and they would like, we'd sell it to them, and they would take it, and as they're putting it in their bag, they're like, so when's the expansion coming out? And we're like, this just dropped, like give us some time. Like you know, like I remember that it was like, so you guys plan on bringing the expansion out, right? And we're like, yeah, you just bought that, it's brand new, like give us time to make sure this, you know. But yes, it really has, like it is so much. Even people just walking by that, like you said, it was just their game night game, and they're like, oh, that's such a great game. Hey, do you guys plan on bringing the expansion? Like, it was just always on everyone's mind. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of a little gem. I feel like Targi is, in a lot of people's opinion, like a secret gem, because it never got a huge release, right? Like, this was brought out a few years ago by a different publisher originally in conjunction with Kosmos. It was brought out with by Z-Man Games. They brought it out, not with a lot of fanfare, but slowly it started to just get recognized by reviewers and other people, and it gained momentum, and then they stopped printing it. And that's why for a while, Targi, the base game, was going for over $100 on eBay, which is wild.
Yeah.
That at that point, that in conjunction with all of the requests we got for the base game, we decided to print it. We're super thrilled that we did, because we found out that there are a lot of people who've heard about it, and it like I said, it almost felt like a secret, right? But a lot of people heard about it, and so when we put it out, it's just been a great success for us. Happy to have the expansion now to accompany it. It's just a lot of people's like little darling game, and I love that. Yeah.
We have to Gen Con online, Tom. We have to use Gen Con like lingo. This Targi was a Grail game for many people. Like it was a Grail game. Like that's when those games go up to be like $100, it's like those are the Grail games where you find at the thrift store. And we were like, no. We got your Grail games. Like was it last year or the year before that? It was like the year of Grail games for us. We had Targi re-release, and we had
Pillars of the Earth.
Yeah, Pillars of the Earth. We had that release, and it was like, we're putting these Grail games out, and all of these pirates that are out there trying to raise the prices, like, we're not very happy with us, but we're happy that we got some more life into these games.
That's a good point. I should have mentioned, but the Targi the Expansion that was just released, it is compatible with the previous edition. So if you have the Z-Man edition, the cards, the language, all that stuff is going to be compatible.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's good, right?
I know. Yeah, I know. One of the things that, if I understand correctly, that was actually changed when we reprinted it, was that like the symbology on the cards is awesome, and that's compatible with both. But didn't we update to actually put like the rule set on the back too? Because I don't remember if that was on the Z-Man game version.
So we did retranslate the whole thing from scratch, right? We took the German and retranslated it, and so I can't remember. My friend actually has the Z-Man edition, and I could have checked it, but I didn't. It's nearly identical. I think that some of the translations, specifically in the rule book, I like ours better. That might be opinion, but I think it's a little bit clearer.
Yeah. I like the options because, like, as a school teacher, I know that people learn different ways, and some people can look at symbology and they just get it. Mm-hmm. And I'm that person, so I almost always play with the rule set up so that I can read it and be like, oh, that's what it means. And I love that option because it's such a fantastic way first to like get you playing. Like even with the new stuff, that's what I really liked about it, was I could just follow the setup and I didn't have to look up all these rules because they're right there in front of me. It's like, oh, what does this new card mean? Oh, it says it right there. And I think Kosmos has a really good way of doing that we always, even though we do have some games that are considered these gamer games, like there's always this mindset of like, someone's going to see this on the shelf that has never played anything other than your normal board games like Sorry, and we want them to be able to join the hobby too. And I really appreciate that about all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We take a lot of pride in making our rule books accessible for everyone.
I would like to state too that as someone that doesn't like to read giant rule books, that the rule book for the expansion is only, and that's not counting the front that just gives you kind of the overview, it's a 3-panel rule book. Like you can literally just have it in front of you and learn this game. Like it is not you don't have to read a little novel to get into the expansion, which is fantastic because my little brain does not stay focused very long.
I do enjoy reading rule books, but that being said, I really enjoy reading clear, concise rule books, and I think this does a good job. One thing I wanted to also mention, imagine we're at Gen Con, we're at the booth, and someone comes up and has never heard of Targi before. I remember when we first brought it in, we got a lot of people who still hadn't heard of it, because although it is a lot of people's darling grail game, that means that there are still a lot of people who hadn't heard of it. And when I start to tell people what this game has mechanically, if you're fluent in the board game language, you're like, okay, well, this is a worker placement, but it's also a tableau building. It's also got engine building. It's also got, action selection, and it's got so many of those very modern board game terms to them. But it really is so much simpler than that. It's like, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals, it should equal, 4, but it actually is less than that. The game is so much simpler than the description. Once you get playing this game, it clicks. I would say it's like, I guess I probably can't come up with a really good comparison, but I do like the very cliche term. It's simple to learn but takes a lifetime to master. And I mean, this is, in my opinion, very, very much the case with this game.
I agree, and it's your decisions are not super complex, and you're really what I enjoy about it is you're not having to think 6 turns ahead. You're really thinking, okay, what do I need right now? How can I best do this with this limited amount of space? Because your two actions in the inside of the board, those are almost the most important actions, because you're having to almost blindly figure out, how is this going to do this? How can I do this without my opponent reading my eyes and seeing that I'm trying to do this so they can block me to do this? Because all the options on the outside, there's not really a bad option. So it's not like if I stop to block you and I throw myself on a date to block you, it's not like it's hurting me on my turn. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, now he can't do it, and now I have an extra good. So I really enjoy that.
So we have a couple things coming in here, but before we start addressing those, Jesus, we talked about doing this if we had time, and I think we kind of do. Do you want to just run through maybe a round or two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Virtually?
Absolutely, sure.
We haven't done this before, so apologies if this doesn't work out. Now, the one trick is my camera angle is not very wide, and I can't adjust it. But we do want to make sure to play with the sand dune tiles. So these are going to be off to the side, Jesus. So keep these in mind.
Okay.
You see them?
Yes.
All right. They're going to be over here.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to let you go first. Where do you want to go? You tell me the border card you want to first place on.
Okay. The border card that I first want to place on is I actually want to place on the Targia.
Of course you do. That's what I would have done.
I want to do that because I know that's gonna do awesome stuff afterwards.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go up with the dates.
Awesome. And okay, then I'm gonna go on the one-time pepper at the very bottom row, across from the robber. There you go. Thank you.
All right. I am going to go... Ooh, water. Water's good. I'm taking that.
Yeah, I am going to actually go... I'm going to go off to the sand dune, and I'm going to take the 2-point victory so I can get ahead. So if we only play a couple rounds and we count up points...
all right, so my turn. I'm gonna go here.
All right.
So since you went first, you placed your tribe members out on the border.
Yep.
You now get to fulfill all of your little tasks, and you can do that in any order you want. Now you only get the one cross section.
Yep. Because I use that sand dune card. Yep.
Let's see.
Totally worth it.
So you tell me the order you want them accomplished in.
Okay, I want to get the sand dune out of the way so I don't forget about it. So that's going to be discarded, and then I'm giving myself 2-point tokens over here on my end.
Okay.
And if I give myself a 3, you won't know the difference anyway.
You also start with some resources, which it's two of each. We didn't do that, but that's fine. This is just for a demo.
Well, I'm actually playing the more difficult version where I have 1 of each.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of why and that's a good point right there. That's a good difference to set up. Normally you start with 2 of each good, But with the expansion, you start with one of each good, and that actually dictated what I did this turn, is because I went to the Targia so I could get more resources.
Absolutely.
So that's important to state that that's one of the reasons why I did that. Okay, so for the Targia, I'm gonna give myself the 1 salt, and I am also going to give myself another pepper. For that, I'm not going to discard to get one, and then now I'm going to take the 1 pepper on the bottom, and then I'm going to actually buy that card, and I will discard 1 gold, 1 pepper, 1 salt.
Nice.
So now so right now my victory points with my starting victory points stand at that I have 6, 7, 8, 9 victory points currently.
Very good. Wow.
That's a pretty good first turn, I'm just going to say.
Yeah, you're going to beat me. Unless we play the full game, because I'm playing the long game. I actually thought that I was blocking you from grabbing this. I thought that's where you wanted as well. So that's why I went here, up in the upper part of the board. But I still liked my other options. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of mine as well. So I get a pepper for here. A date for this one. Water for this one. So I can take either 2 water or 1 gold. I'm gonna take the gold. This goes away. And I'm gonna use that gold to buy this card. And
yes.
I don't have
one
the
of the
3
things...
peppers. If I had the 3 peppers, I would use those to boost my purchase from 2 victory points up to 4. But I don't have it. I'm okay with that. I'll take the 2. So, you know what we didn't do?
I do want to say that...
want to make sure
That's what I
mentioned that the cards get replaced with their opposite. So this here is a tribe card. It's going to get replaced with a goods card. This one was a goods card, so it gets replaced with a tribe card. This one was a tribe card, so it gets replaced with a goods card.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things I was going to say is I was kind of letting that play out of us not filling those, because I wanted to point out that if anyone is a big Targi fan and they're paying attention, the setup is actually reversed than the base game, to where it starts with, instead of, being, tribe, good, tribe, or sorry, good, tribe. It's like, it's reversed. So that's, yes, we did not do that, but you should do that because it could get very confusing. Fortunately, we're on the first round, so it's very easy to kind of see what we were doing.
Yeah, I had it set up correctly for the expansion.
Oh, I know you did.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you said I didn't. Yeah. So...
No. I think you did. I was just pointing out that is also one of the differences, is that you start with less goods, you start with more victory points. You also, the setup in the middle is a little different, but it's very, once again, just very familiar. It's easy to overlook because it's so familiar.
So the end of this round, the sand dune cards they're still out.
Yep.
The robber would move, the Targia would move, and the next round would start. Because you started last turn, I would start this turn.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go ahead. We won't finish this, but let's at least put the markers out so that people can kind of see a fleshed out turn.
Okay.
All right. So on my turn, ooh, look at all that water. I'm gonna go here and take the same first move you did and go with the Targia.
Okay. And I am going to. I'm going to go at the one-time pepper at the bottom to block you from getting that 2 water.
Ooh, all right. Well, there's still a way I could do that. Potentially. I don't know if it's worth it.
All right. And I will go on the salt.
This one or this one?
The one above the Targia.
All right, we'll go there. Ooh, you got that victory point. That's a good one. Go here or here. I'm gonna go here.
All right. And I'm actually going to go back to the sand dunes, and I'm going to go up to that water and, yep.
That's a good one. You're going to get a victory point, a water, and a good for that. That sounds so powerful. And
yes.
It is. But you're also losing one of your cross sections.
That's true. That's true.
You get this one. I get this one and this one. All right. I don't know. I don't think we need to play that out.
No, I mean, I think the audience can clearly see that even though you're thinking long game, I probably would have won. I'm just saying, but and we'll have to next Gen Con when we can actually be in person. We'll have to flush this out and see who could actually win. So
I mean, I'm not gonna brag, but I'm pretty good at Targi.
Yeah, well, you also don't live by me, so like, I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, obviously so you have a copy there, I've got a copy here. We can play virtually. We'll do that. We'll do that later.
Maybe we'll see.
All right.
But talking trash, I'm just not good at games. I lose all the time. That's why I have so many games. Is I'm trying to find one that I can consecutively win, and it just doesn't ever happen. So I'm like, well, this is going on the show. Never play it again.
Let's see. Let's start. I know that there's been a lot of comments on this video, so I just want to look at those real quick to see if there's anything. I feel like someone corrected us on how to say the name of the game. Let me look through this here real quick. All right. Loud and clear. So someone's saying it's Targi, and someone's saying Targi. It's Gi as in GIF, is what one person says.
Mm-hmm.
According to the designer, it is a hard G sound. That's from Carrie. And David, I think, agrees. This is great. So maybe it is Targi, and Targia is the female.
Well, good. Then I can stop saying it wrong because I'm not sure.
Also, we see that it could be like coriander and cilantro. Maybe people maybe there's two ways to say it. I don't know. I do want to say that I think it is important we call it by its right name. So I feel like that's definitely apologies if I've been saying it wrong.
Yeah, same here, because this is something that you and I talked about.
Yeah. So it's available in the UK right now. You can like I believe in their local stores, and it will be very soon here in the States.
Absolutely.
So talking about the 2-player game series from Kosmos, I mean, we were talking about Aqualin yesterday, and how that's such a great addition to the 2-player line. Targi has been a great staple in the 2-player line for a little bit now, and adding this expansion is just really nailing it down. I think we have the best 2-player games.
Yeah, I agree, and I'd like to state for the nerds out there that worry about the boxes, because that's me. Like when Emotep, with all the stuff that came out, everyone was like, does it all fit in the box? It does. This all does fit in one of the boxes. Like, you don't have to have both the boxes if you don't choose to. They do. It fits very comfortably without taking the insert out. I check that because that's how I roll. Is I'm like, do I need to take the insert out to make this fit? So
we have a request for some more on the theme. I wish I knew more about it. I do know I've watched a bunch of reviews, and I've talked briefly with the designer. The designer knows a lot more about the Targia and the society culture there. But an interesting fact I saw on a video, and maybe I shouldn't say this because I haven't done my own research to confirm this, but it was fascinating. They were saying that this is a culture that is matriarchal, which is cool. So I'm glad if that is the case. Well, regardless, but I'm glad that we have the Targia figure representing. The blue, I know the blue dye is a very important part of the culture. That is something. Yeah. More on that if I had the details, but I know that if you play the game, you'll notice specifically on the other editions, but the blue is an important part of the culture. The blue dye and the fabrics that they have. All right. Someone says I'm not good at winning on the Gen Con talks. Well, that might be true. I've got a lot of other things going on. The Jambo expansion. I don't think we have plans for that one yet. But if you are interested in that, send me an email. Or I guess we have the one comment here, but please send us emails. If there's any Kosmos games, 2-player or otherwise, that you're interested in, always let us know. That's the only way we can find out.
Yeah.
All right. Jesus, back to you on any additional thoughts. I mean, we still have some time, and we'll be able to address questions. So if you have questions, make sure to write those in now. But Jesus, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, really, we kind of covered all of the it's such a great 2-player game, and it's also it's just in that wheelhouse for me of it's just strategic enough where my mind doesn't get fried where I'm trying to figure out towards the my whole you can really adjust your strategy throughout the game a few times without getting punished for it. It's not, there's some games that you have to pick your strategy, you go ahead with it, and if you have to differ from that, it's a train wreck. In this, it's oh, that's not going to work. I should change my tactics and that kind of, for instance, the little game we were playing, I was kind of hoarding victory points, and that might not work towards the middle of the game, and I might need to change, but I guess my strategy would have been to get as many extra victory points as I can, and then fill my little village as quickly as possible to end it before you had a chance to catch up. But that might not have worked. You might have got ahead of me, So I really appreciate the diversity. You don't have to stick to one plan so strictly. It really, especially with the expansion and the water and the Targia, allowing you to be a bit more flexible with what you want to do, I think adds a whole lot to this game.
I agree with you. I like that you get out of this what you put into it. If you and whoever you play 2-player games with, if you play this consistently and frequently, you both get very good at it, and you'll both get to the point where you can try and see each other's moves and block each other's moves. But that aside, there's always going to be a little bit of luck in this game.
Yeah.
The cards that get pulled out and the order they get pulled out in, and what you're looking for. Look at this deck here, right? There's a lot of variety just in the order that these cards get dealt out. That and the goods cards as well. So it's one thing I think you'll find with just about any Kosmos game. You'll never see something that is completely strategy. There's always going to be just some more than others, but a little bit of luck, because I think that luck helps give a game replayability. If this was a purely strategic game, and we started playing every day, it can get a little bit like chess, where one of us might just be a little bit better than the other, and then the other person will just never win, and that's not very much fun. So a little bit of luck goes a long way in games like this, where even though we might be experts, right, world champions of Targi, there's enough luck that if we play against someone who hasn't played it before, there's still a chance, although I will say that's a minor chance, but there's still a chance that we could lose just based on the draw of the cards. Generally, I think you would beat someone if you'd had played a few times. I think you'd beat someone on their first game, but I think that learning curve is pretty short, that after a few games you can definitely get caught up to speed.
Yeah, and I haven't actually played any games of this that it was like a complete blowout, like where I'll play and it's like, yes, I'm clearly doing better because I'm familiar with it, but about I wouldn't even say halfway through the game, like very early in the game, my opponent gets it and they start playing catch up very fast. And I think I haven't played it enough with the expansion to verify this, but I think those sand dune cards can also do that, like very quickly bring you up to, like, if you're missing stuff, like those are some powerful cards, like that. I love the fact that, like, you know, like I chose 2 turns in a row to take them, 1 for demonstration, and 2, it was just, they were good. And it was like, I didn't miss the extra action in the middle because it was so much better to go out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think that was a good play on your part. I like the engine building part a little bit more, so I typically go for the tribe cards early on, because then they can potentially like start to produce on their own, which I really like, and give you extra benefits. Let's see. Tom's not winning. Yeah. Difference between the Z-Man and the Kosmos edition of the game. I believe that the only real difference is in the rule book. The cards themselves, including the names, like the tribes and goods cards, those are the same. So this is fully compatible. And then obviously new additions to the game, like the sand dune cards, would be compatible because there's no pre-existing cards to match for that. Would it be possible to learn Targi and the expansion together? We were talking about this before the show. Yeah, tell me what your thoughts on that were.
Yeah, so I really do. I don't think that this is an expansion that is so heavy that it bogs down the learning curve of the game. I really think if you explain Targi in general, if you can teach Targi in general, the only difference with this game, I feel the only big difference is explaining how the Targia works, the Dune cards, how those work, and then the water. And it's like, really, those are, everything else is pretty intuitive to when it comes out. Even the special abilities of, like, you can save it and use it anytime on your turn. It's like, yeah, okay, I get it. Even the Targia, like I can, and for those that may have just joined in, like I'll explain those very quickly. The Targia, when you go to her and you land with her, you can pick one of any good that you want, or you can discard a good from yours to flip over the top goods card. And goods, it's very important to remember that goods are only the dates, the salt, and the pepper. The new water and the gold are not goods. So that's why you might want to discard them to get those. The sand dune cards, you place a Targi on it, and you get a very powerful effect, but it brings down one of your cross sections. Those are really the only 2 new rules, folks, that you need to wrap your head around. Everything else is very familiar with the original game. So yes, I think it is very, very possible to teach this to someone that has never played Targi before. You can teach them with the expansion, and I don't feel they'd be like, wow, this is super complex. I don't even think they would notice that there is an expansion in it, because everything just gels so well with it. And that is going to, I will be honest, I think if you are teaching Targi to someone that has never played a new board game ever, I think even if you included the expansion, you're going to run into the same problems that you would if you weren't with it. If you were playing with anyone that's ever played any modern board game, it's a no-brainer. You can add the expansion all you want.
I agree. Interesting. I think you made this comparison before the show when we were talking that Targi the Expansion reminds you a little bit of Imhotep: A New Dynasty, which is the expansion for Imhotep, because it doesn't change the game too much. It adds more options, which
yes.
For those who play the game a lot, it's great. Imhotep: A New Dynasty is fantastic. Anyone who has played it, I mean, our reviews for it are fantastic, right? But similarly, like, you can take and you can add things from Imhotep: A New Dynasty into the base game, or you can take them out. Similarly, you could play this game and you could take out, like it even says a little bit in the manual, like you can adjust which of the border cards you actually want to play after you've played it a few times. Similarly, now if you were playing with upgraded border cards, you do have to include the water cards. Those are complementary. But other things like the sand dune cards, you could take those out. You can mix and match them the way you want to play. But, you know, that's something that you get after your 100th play, which I've probably surpassed by now.
Yeah. I think the sand dune cards, like, I think that's a really good point. Like, if you're playing with someone that's brand new, that you think the sand dune cards might be too much, I don't believe there's any cards in the new game that tell you to draw a random sand dune card. I think even if those weren't included, you could still play it as a module, but I just don't think it's that complex that it's going to trip anybody up. Like,
no. And I actually really like the sand dunes. Those are my favorite addition in the expansion, so I would actually play with those above any of the other additions. But it's yeah, if you play the game enough, you'll know which cards you can add or take out. But I like the full complement of the expansion personally. Yeah,
me too.
Let's see, do we have any new questions coming in? No questions yet. But I know, so we're opening this up to questions about any Kosmos game. So if you guys have questions, Jesus and I are happy to answer it. I see, Jesus, it's been catching my eye right above your, I guess it's your right shoulder. You got Roll for Adventure.
Yes.
I love that game.
It's fantastic. It's a great game.
Yeah. That one actually came out last year at Gen Con, and we sold through it so fast. We usually do a good job of over inventory for Gen Con because we want to make sure. I would rather lose a little bit of money shipping stuff back than telling someone we ran out of a game. But we ran out of that. We actually ran out of Roll for Adventure, Imhotep the Duel, Exit Catacombs. We had a banner year last year, and I feel like we would have had a banner year this year.
Absolutely.
If we were at the actual show, because Targi the Expansion would have been available. Aquilin would have been available. We have the 2 Exit games that just came out. Liberation of Reitberg, which you can see just over my shoulder or to the side of me. We've had a great year for game releases. Not to mention The Crew and My City. I feel like it's the dream team. We got a really good lineup this year.
It's very good. Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with it. And you know, I also wanted to add something if we don't have any questions that I thought that I was thinking about when we were talking about New Dynasty and we were talking about the expansion Targi, is I've noticed that Kosmos doesn't put out an expansion unless it's good, unless it complements what is already there. Yeah, I mean, and what I mean by that is, like, I know that Kosmos is very limited on the amount of titles that you put out. So to put an expansion out, it has to be something that is going to stand itself, because you could, you know, like, and I don't know the business side of it, but I feel like you could have funded another game for the expansion, but the expansion is that good that can take up a slot of, you know, bringing something new, because this is that good. And I felt that way with New Dynasty too, that it was like it added so much familiar goodness to it. And I always feel like it's a safe bet that like when New Dynasty came out, I was like, cool, I know it's going to be easy to set up. There's going to be a little bit of different stuff, but it's going to be more of the awesome stuff that I already like.
Yeah, so Jesus, right behind you, and I don't mean to make you move again, but like literally behind you is Steam Time. The game Steam Time? That's a perfect example. That is a game that we produced a few years ago, which I love. It's an engine building game, and I love engine building. It's a Rudiger Dorn game, and that one actually comes with the expansions in it. So at that time, we had the base game, and the expansions were available. Why not add them, right? So the reason that there's a second box to both Imhotep and Targi, expansions to these base games, is because we put out the best game possible, just like we did with Steam Time and Roll for Adventure. We put out the best game possible, and literally it was people telling us they wanted more. We don't put out a game thinking, oh, we've got like 5 expansions lined up so we can continue to like milk that. That's not what it's about. We put out the best game possible, and if the demand is there for extra content, then that will be created. And that's Phil Walker Harding. I did like a quick little like email interview with him about A New Dynasty, and he was saying, yeah, he had no intentions of making the expansion. He made the best game possible, and then when Kosmos came to him and said, we're getting a lot of requests for extra content, he took some of his games that he was developing outside of Imhotep, like the chariot race within the expansion. That was a whole different game, and he took it and he was like, you know what? I think I can fit that in here. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, except to say that like I think, you know, the goal is best game possible in the box first time. Expansions will only come out when we get just hundreds of emails asking for it.
Which is a good point. That like, you know, I've met lots of people in the industry, and you know, like I think it's important for people to know that you genuinely mean that. Like when you say email me and let me know, like that does not go into a junk file. Like it's really like, if the best way to get Kosmos to put out something like this is to let us know by the masses that there is a need for it. Like, you know, like, this expansion would not have came over if there wasn't such a big response for it. And that's really important, that this expansion, it was put out for the people because of the people. Like, you know, that it wasn't a like behind the scenes, like, haha, now we can get your money. Like, no, like people want this, so let's do it, you know? And I think that's really important.
Yeah. The conversation I had with my boss after I'd received the like 3rd or 5th, like just wave of emails about Targi the Expansion, I came up to him and I said, hey, like, I think we should put this out for Gen Con next year. This was last year. And he was like, you getting a lot of requests for it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, I think we should do it. It wasn't like, how many copies do you think we can sell? It was, are people asking for it? And that's we want to reward our fans. And I think that's pretty great. It's great to get that support and feedback. I appreciate all the fans we have.
Yes.
All right. Hey, we're just about out of time. I wanted to make sure to thank everyone again for participating here today. This was a lot of fun. We got a lot of good comments in the YouTube chat. Thank you very much. Jesus, I'm going to give you some time for your last words.
Yeah, I wanted to, you know, I know that you've already done it a bunch, but I also wanted to thank, you know, all of the people that have reached out to get the expansion to happen. Like really, thank you. Like this is for you. This is for those people that really wanted this, that asked about it. This is not a money scheme. This is like, you wanted it, you know, we listened, you know, so here you go. So thanks, you know, hats off to all the fans that are very much like standing behind the Kosmos game line. You know, like it's amazing to see how it's grown and how beloved it is. It really warms my heart to see the love for this brand, which is awesome. So
yeah, I completely agree with you, and my similar feelings towards this the project and our fans. So thank you very much for joining us. This was Gen Con Online 2020, Targi the Expansion. We have one more coming up tomorrow at 11, and that is for The Crew, where Jesus is going to be joining us again. So thanks again, everybody, and have a good rest of a Gen Con. Bye-bye.